Today we're going to be clarifying compression. It's one of your most powerful audio tools next to EQ in my opinion, and having complete fluidity with it is really important to create pro sounding mixes both live and in studio. As you can see, I'm on the road today and not my typical studio setup, but still want to uncover how I think about compression, the two words that really solidified in my mind, and a 4-step workflow for working through each of the parameters. Because the first thing most new engineers do when they open up a compressor is see all the knobs or virtual faders that you can push and pull on, and it's too many variables at once. So I'm going to show you how to isolate them one by one, start to listen and think and understand it a little bit more. And now in the field, you're not going to have to step through all 4 of them one by one. That feels slow, but it's a great way to learn it. You'll start to have instincts on when it needs to happen and know instantly what parameter to go for. Okay, so let's jump right into my studio session here. And again, you can apply this on any console and any DAW. This is just a way I can help show you it on the road here. All right, I'm in Reason 12, which is my favorite DAW to make music in. One of these days I'll show you a tune I'm working on. And we're going to be processing a drum loop. I'm using Neutron from Isotope because it has a great visual interface for helping underscore some of the processing we're looking at, and it has a wonderful auto makeup gain feature. If you're brand new to compression, a compressor reduces the level selectively on our input signal, so sometimes we need to increase the output gain to get it back up to where it was, and this does it really well and transparently. So when I hit this bypass button over here, I can bring it in and out. We're not going to hear a big gigantic level change. So let me bypass it and let's hear our drum loop that we're going to be working on, a simple groove at 120 BPM. I would say drums are the greatest place to start learning compression because it has a very clear impact and transient that we can hear. And we can really change the control and color of the signal that way. And that's it, nothing crazy here, but we're gonna start dialing in some parameters to see how we can change the impact, tone, color, and presentation of this drum loop. I hinted at earlier 2 words that come to my mind when using compression. It's control and color. So if I mean to control a signal that might feel like a wild bull in an arena, maybe it's a vocalist who has a really big range, I can use it to rein it back. I almost think like it's a game of Red Rover. Someone's running and they hit it and it's like, whoa, or a rubber band is actually my favorite analogy. A signal runs into it and it can create this rubber band. So we can control how our compressor is reacting. Is it this gentle rubber band? Is it more like a punching bag? Is it more like a brick wall? And we can have all of those. And then color, you're going to see how we're going to impart a tonal flavor on the signal with our compressor. So let's dial in some moderate settings. This is when you boot up the plugin, this is what happens to be the default somewhat. So I'm on the modern setting. Again, a takt time of 20 milliseconds, a ratio of 4:1, a release of 100 milliseconds, and my threshold's all the way up. If that was all Greek to you, we'll come back to it. I'm going to bring down the threshold, and you're going to see the peaks of the waveform jump up over this threshold, and we're going to see gain reduction occur. And we're going to see that happen on this little meter here. So let's check it out. So I can see here on the left, we get about 7-8 dB of gain reduction, so how much the signal is being reduced. And now I'm going to wind it back and hit the bypass button. So I'm going to bring the processor out and in and out and in, and listen for how you're hearing the signal change. The word that comes to mind here is pressure. I feel like it's being pushed back against, and we're hearing some of the room noise come up. So by default, when we have our gain reduction or our output gain, brought up to meet where it was, we're going to get some of that ambience back. So that's one of the color things that happens. So I just want to show you the stock setting as a comparison. And now I'm going to show you in what order, if you're new, to start to move through a source when you're dialing in compression to get the perfect setting for where you're trying to go. We're going to put threshold up. We're going to basically put it from stun all the way to kill, destroy, annihilate. So we're going to take our attack time, put it all the way fast, our release time, put it all the way fast, and our ratio as high as it'll go. And then we're going to bring down the threshold until we're getting a very healthy amount of gain reduction. So this is going to be the most aggressive and fast setting, because our attack time is controlling how quickly the compressor is reacting and reducing the gain once it goes over the threshold. Our release time is controlling how quickly it lets go the signal, lets it return to normal. Our ratio, think of it like an intensity knob. Once it goes over the threshold, it's basically saying here's an exchange of you're going to have to get 30 dB over the threshold for you to get 1 out. So that's not a very good deal. So you could have a much gentler ratio of 1.4 to 1 or 2 to 1. But we're going to put it all the way in 30. And then threshold is at what point is it applying the gain reduction. So if our threshold's way up high and it never crosses it, that's then we're going to do gain reduction. All right, so let's listen to that. I'm going to bring the threshold down. You're going to hear this drum loop get destroyed. So what I heard is that the initial transient or punch of the drums went away. The attack time was so quick, there wasn't time for it to get a jab in. So that's something that happens when attack times are really fast. Fast, it makes things fat and really compact. And I also heard some distortion happening. And this is because the release time is so quick. The release time is trying to let go very quickly. It's actually following the waveform and shaping it much differently and creating distortion there. You can even see that in the way that the yellow gain reduction line is moving. So let's look at that again. You see right here, it's a very jagged release. It's reacting very quickly, and that's going to create distortion. So this is the most aggressive setting. Now, what do we start to dial back first? For me, that's attack time. I want to fine tune the presentation of the transient. So for drums, I usually like around 10 milliseconds, but I'm just going to gradually release, gradually roll back the attack, and we'll see where it goes. You notice how we got all our punch back just by rolling it to 10 milliseconds? Let me A/B this. So just by adjusting our attack time only, we were able to control the punch and character and transient, the impact of our drums. So that's what I'm listening for specifically. This is true for vocal, it's true for keys part, whatever. I want to change the impact and how far forward it's able to move forward in the mix. That's attack time for me. So I liked it around 10 milliseconds. Now we set that. And now let's go to release. That's the second one we're going to adjust. And by the way, all this is stolen from a book called Mixing with Your Mind. It's a studio-oriented book, and that's why I think it's really great to be able to slow down in these contexts and practice these core principles that transfer anywhere in audio, whether it's studio or live. So I would highly recommend that book. Check it out. I just want to show you my presentation of what's going on. Okay, so now let's adjust release. I'm not going to describe it yet. I want you to see what you come up with when you're thinking about how it sounds. It's leaning back towards that pressure word I was talking to earlier. When I make the release time slower, the distortion goes away, and I can feel it pumping and I can feel it breathing. So a stock setting that I like to start with, especially for drums, is 100 milliseconds, but we can make it slower if we want to hang around more, or maybe it's more of a ballad or slower song, or we can make it faster if we just want to smack its hand and get out of the way. So I'm going to play with this a little bit more. Having a little bit longer, I liked how it breathed and gave a little bit more character to it. Again, this is really intense right now, so we're going to back this off. But I think that was cool. 10 millisecond attack it, 150 millisecond release. And now we're going to dial back ratio. Again, this is our intensity knob. A lot of folks are really scared or afraid to go with higher ratios. It's okay. It's just whatever's able to get the tonal, control, and color you're needing out of the signal. We're at 30 to 1. Let me back it off to 2 to 1 and see where it can go. You see how it just got more intense when I moved it to 30. Let me do that one more time. Same effect, just more of it, more intense. Let me try it 4 to 1. I think I like that. It's a good place to start. And now lastly, we just fine tune our threshold to get the amount of gain reduction that we want, because a drummer might be playing at different levels throughout the song. This is more for us to hear very clearly what's happening, and then we dial into taste. So let's do that. So anything now that isn't compressed is going to feel really bland and kind of pokey, because our ears are really now accustomed to the transient being shaped in a different way and this really, really high energy compressed sound. So it's always, you want to go with moderation here. Something's not going to feel as exciting, but then once you put it into full mix, if everything's super compressed, it's going to feel like it has no breathing room. It's going to be pushed really far back. So all I have to say, just know that when you're fine tuning this threshold setting so you can get it to the right spot. I'm getting just under 6 dB of gain reduction. To my eyes, that feels like a little bit much, but it may be right in the context of the mix. But I think this adds some really cool flavor. So let me bypass audition, processed and unprocessed here. We'll get a look at that. So yeah, not a giant change, but I just like the energy that it adds. It makes a really cool point on the kick drum, a little bit more compact and punchy. This might be really cool to marry with a very deep bass, since we're emphasizing the upper bass in the kick drum. But anyway, that's how I think about compression. It's control and color, and the 4 main parameters in order are going to be adjusting as attack, release, ratio, and threshold. And you're going to set everything to destroy, so their fastest or most aggressive setting. Play a loop, and then just them one by one: attack, release, ratio, threshold. Let me know if it's helpful to you to present in this way. Got some more mixing tutorials coming your way. My name is Michael Curtis. I love helping you make your show sound amazing in every single seat. I'll catch you next time.